First Class V here, back with another video in our Access Administrative series with part 6 of our series. Today we're going to start talking about substitutions, and today we're just going to do a brief overview of the documentation required for personnel to be allowed a substitution. All right, so if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and let me go ahead and show you my screen here. At any point in the series you want some of these handouts, please let me know, and I will get them to you. All right, so like I said, documentation required for allowable substitution. All right, so this job aid is directly off of EUN Plus, and it's there for you. Like I said, if you need it, go ahead and drop me your email, reach out to me either through YouTube or Facebook, and I'll get it to you. All right, so basically today all we're going to do is going to cover introduction, segregation of duties to process flow, talk about some of the different appendixes. There's a lot of good stuff in this job aid that you can use to do your additional appointment orders and so forth. All right, so like I said, this is the things that we're going to talk about. So as introduction, okay, position substitution created by access administrators have the potential to create segregation of duties or conflicts. All right, so they're trying to really hammer down on that for people having too much access. All right, so it should be checks and balances throughout. The process has been implemented to ensure that access administrators and their commanders are aware of the potential SOD conflicts created by the position substitutions. So if you have not had a chance, on 18 May, the Army kicked out that, hey, yearly reaffirms are not being done. Your 2075 SARs need to be on file, your assumption commands, and you're actually supposed to run this SOD report. I'm going to show you guys how to do that in a later video. All right, so be advised, even if a request a substitution does not create an SOD conflict, it may disagree with the established Army business rules. All right, so if you're an access administrator and you try to go into a master driver role, it may not be possible. All right, you may have to contact the help desk and explain your situation. So with that though, I understand there are units out there that their makeup is very unique. Some people are in multiple positions, multiple roles. You may have to contact the help desk and explain that to them. All right. So here's your standard SOD flow chart. Right. So to start it off, the AA receives requests to submit the GCSS-A user into a position. So you can either go one or two ways here. Is this an emergency? Yes or no? All right. So if no, you got to refer to the SOD available substitution matrix, and that's in the Appendix A. Like I said, we will go over. All right. If it's a yes, you're going to go to the Appendix C to follow the VCO process. Okay, so the commander can authorize a verbal command and say substitute this person as an emergency, yada yada yada. All right, so keep that in mind. So if you look and continue on the no track, are all the users currently held positions requested position in the matrix? All right, see note 1, and we're going to get into that. So if it's a no, you're going to have to create a help desk ticket requesting the SOD analysis report to be run. All right. So you'll receive the SOD, you'll verify the appendix documents, then you will submit the DD form 2875 SAR. All right. So like I said, there's supposed to be a SAR on file for everyone that has access to GCSS-Army. Does commander approve the substitution? Yes or no? And you'll keep going down the checklist here. AA notify ASIP financial CD. All right, and that's pretty much it. So like I said, note 1, all existing positions being requested must be listed in Appendix A in order to bypass requesting an SOD analysis report, and we're going to get through that. Like I said, this video is just basically to go over segregation of duties, some of the things to look for when you're looking into substitutions and so forth. So if you look at note 2, if SOD conflicts are created by a substitution, the commander or commander's representative will be expected to review the system activity of the user and ensure that no inappropriate transactions are being executed inside the system. All right, so just keep that in mind. One thing, if you are an access admin or maintenance manager, you can be subbed into a unit supply role, but there is a conflict there because of the Class 9, Class 2 ordering and so forth. All right. So substitution without the SOD conflicts are limited to a max of 365 days. Substitution with SOD conflicts are limited to a duration of 72 hours and must go through the same process for an additional 72 hours. So every 72 hours, if there is a conflict, you will have to submit a SAR and do all the proper paperwork. All right, so just keep that in mind. Once the allowable substitution matrix has been referenced, and after receiving approval, substitution commanders or representative or the AA should verify that both the primary position assignment and the position of the intended substitution are within his or her scope of operation. All right. So if the positions are within the scope of operation, the AA receives an error when attempting to create a substitution. It is possible GCSS-A business rules prohibit the substitution. Just keep that in mind. So allowable business, okay, this is your substitution matrix. So access administrators must consider existing primary position assignments before creating substitutions. If all the user's positions, including any additional positions to which the user is currently substituted, and the position that intends substitutions are on the matrix, the substitution would not cause a business area SOD conflict. It does not require a COD report to substitute a user into a position. All right, so be advised, all personnel substituted outside of or into the financial position created an SOD violation. All right, so for example, here's your primary position, here's your allowable substitution position. So if you're in the warehouse in the SSA, if you have these rights here, you're authorized warehouse positions. Property book, this is what you be. S4, this is what you possibly could be substituted into. Unit supply, like I said, maintenance ground, access admin, manager, supervisor, equipment record part specialist. You guys can be substituted into any of the ground positions, and you can be subbed into a unit supply clerk. Create substitution prevents users from accessing transactions that they normally can access. Okay, so for an example, if you're a PBO and you're substituted into a unit supply position, you're going to lose the ability to do a MyGo 501. All right, so just keep that in mind. Sometimes substitution will not actually allow you to do everything you used to do. And like the SPO sustainment brigade position template structures to support are built. All right, so just keep this in mind. Like I said, this here, this is your money maker. This is what you can and cannot really do. All right, and we're gonna get into the actual, hard or the regular positions. All right. So standalone positions, that's what they're called. Okay, standalone positions are typically additional duties appointed by the commander, alternate duty positions that are built with inside of GCSS-Army. All right. So once your appointment orders are received, your access administrators can assign personnel into a standalone position following the substitution requirements. So like I said, 2875, your SAR, your appointment orders, all that stuff, your G-Track certs, all that stuff should be in the system. All right. They must consider existing user position assignments in some cases for that. Okay. So example appointment orders. All right. So we're gonna look at the example of some appointment orders, but standalone position descriptions. Okay. So company commander, representative, master driver, maintenance supply technician. These are some of the positions that are standalone. All right. So just keep that in mind. So here we go. So your verbal command. Okay. VOCO. If a commander or commander representative determines an event to be an emergency, a verbal command can be given for the AA to make necessary substitution for the user, okay? Now, verbal commands are only good for 72 hours, all right? So I've gone through this with one of my companies recently. After 72 hours, hey, done, all right? The retro documentation is your SAR. You still have to submit your SAR action and SOD analysis report if one is required to be generated, all right? And you're gonna see Appendix E for further information. And like I said, if you guys want this, just reach out to me and I'll share it with you. So in the DD20 comments section, include a detailed explanation on why the action was taken, as well as the beginning and the ending. So it has to have a start date and an end date. All right. Allow access documentation required training certificates. The SOD analysis report must be completed and on file with the AA within 24 hours following the end of the substitution. All right. Any VOCO substitution that violates SOD cannot last more than 72 hours. All right. If any exception to the requirements needed, exceptional approval must be obtained through ASIPS, Financial Compliance Division Notification FCD, prior to the approval from the commander or commander representative. All right. So after 72 hours, hey, gotta get approval. Any non-SOD voco substitution requires for longer service is considered a normal substitution and should follow the process in Appendix E. All right. So help desk ticket requisitions for analysis report. Okay, so when using ServiceNow to create a help ticket, request SOD analysis report should include the following. They're going to gather this following information. Okay, so summary line, personnel number, name, position number, and the duration. You can navigate. Okay, so if you go in there, you can actually look at this. And then here, like I said, if you want this, here's the couple of links that you can use for it. So documentation required. Okay, so this is the extremely important piece. So your DD form 2875. Okay, that's your system authorized access request form. All right, you must include the position the user currently holds, including active substitutions, the positions to which the user would be substituted. A detailed reason for the substitution must be included and intended for each substitution. All right, your DA form 1687 delegation authority is required for the requested position. Appointment orders, all required training certificates, NET or GTRAC training, and then of course your SOD analysis report. All right, the AA must provide all the documentation listed above to his or her commander to authorize representatives when requesting approval for substitution. All right, so make sure you get all this paperwork together in order to give it to the commander. Okay, the AA needs to create the new DD 2075 before presenting it to the commander or authorized representative for the required document. Okay, substitutions which do not validate SOD can be extended as many as 365 days. All right, so when we actually go into our series a little bit further and we actually get in and actually create a substitution, it will default to 30 days, default, but you can push it out to 365 days. If the substitution was previously determined to create a violation, you cannot extend it beyond the initial 72 hours, okay? And like I said, you must repeat this process. So including another analysis report, completing another 2875, presenting all the documentation that you previously had, right? So keep that in mind. So right here's a big one, especially for like CMDP and stuff like that, okay? AAs must retain all documentation listed above as well as the transaction users report if an SOD violation was created for the 24 months following the user's last access change or outboarding, okay? So this should all be filed, according to ARMS, all right? The AA supervisor should verify semi-annually that the AA is retaining the required documentation. Lack of documentation will result in an audit finding, right? So that's a big one. So in the event that you do have to reach out to ASIP and explain to them what is going on, here you go. Subject, this is what you will include. And then Appendix G is your commander's or representative's responsibility. So as a commander and a representative, such as your executive officer, XO, you have a pretty big responsibility, okay? Position provides the commander with a display capability of only allows the commander to approve or disapprove SART or request equipment dispatch, okay? The maintenance MELs. So I know if you look back at some of my previous videos before, we talked about MEL notifications, especially with the 1097. Anytime you order something, you have to actually go in there and actually approve it so that the parts can be released for funding, all right? So capabilities, so just keep that in mind. So right here is a checklist that you can also be used by the AAs as a reference to ensuring compliance with system access requirements. All right, so this is a pretty good checklist. It tells you everything you need to know, everything that's supposed to be on file, what you're supposed to do, what the commander's supposed to do, and all of this. All right, so everything you need to know is right there. So maintenance supply technicians, personnel authorizations. All right, this position is not authorized during deployment operations. So just keep that in mind. Dual personnel, probably not going to mess with dual personnel too much. Here in Appendix I is an example of the memorandum for record. All right, so this is just appointment orders, effective date, the following personnel appointed, perform duties, blah, 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 full name, email, DOD, UIC, major command, and right from there. All right. So for special instructions, make sure that you ensure a plan is in place to review the roles and permissions in GArmy, all right? For MEL notification approval, here's an example right here. Then, of course, you have your appointment orders for master driver and functions that pertain. And then here's your maintenance and supply technician. And that is it. So as you see, just going in and creating substitution may not always be the correct answer. All right, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, a lot of thought behind it, a lot of stuff to protect the commander or his representatives, make sure there's no conflicts that are involved. So I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, this video or this series is going to continue. Right now we're into the portion of creating substitutions. Like I said, if you want some of this material, I have a lot of PowerPoints on this stuff. Reach out to me. I'll send you all the transaction guides I have and additional resources. Look forward to seeing you in the next part of the video. And as always, go Ordnance.